take the notes to the notice as read. Thank you very much for that. The notice is dated the 6th day of July 2021 and signed by Park Solicitors, his company secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Messrs. Park Solicitors. You will each have received your copy of the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2020, and the report of the directors and auditors therein, which, with your permission, I will take as read. Thank you. I now call on the auditors, Ernst & Young, to present their report as contained in the annual report.
Set out on page 72 to 127, which comprise the statement of financial position as at 31 December 2020, and the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, statement of changes in equity, and statement of cash flows for the year that ended, and notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of eTransact International PLC as at 31 December 2020, and its financial performance and cash flows for the year that ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, the provision of Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, and in compliance with the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act number 6, 2011. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with International Standards on Auditing, ISAs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements section of our report. We are independent of the company in accordance with the International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including International Independent Standards, ISBA code, together with the ethical requirements that are relevant to our audit of the financial statements in Nigeria. And we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with these requirements and the ISBA code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. With the permission of the shareholders, may I move to the last part of the audit report. Thank you, sir. Amas. Reports on other legal and regulatory requirements. In accordance with the requirements 20, we confirm that 1, we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. 2, in our opinion, proper books of accounts have been kept by the company insofar as it appears from our examination of those books. Number 3, the company's statement of financial position and statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of accounts. Dated 31st March 2021 by myself, Jamiu Olakison, on behalf of Ernst & Young. Thank you.
Thank you, Messrs. Ernst & Young. I now call on Mr. Dominic Ichaba, the chairman of the Audit Committee, to present the report of the Audit Committee.
Good morning, fellow shareholders. Good morning, Chairman. In accordance with the provision of Section 404, subsection 7 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, we, the members of the Statutory Audit Committee of eTransact International PLC, confirm that 1. In our opinion, the accounting and reporting policies of the company are in accordance with legal requirements and agreed ethical practices. 2. We reviewed the plan and scope of both the external and internal audits, and we are satisfied that they reinforce the company's internal control. And 3. We reviewed the audited financial statements of the company, and we are satisfied with the external auditor's report that they received management's cooperation and responses in the course of their audit. The report was signed by me, Dominic Ichaba, on behalf of the Audit Committee. Other members of the Audit Committee are Mr. Robert Ibekwe, shareholder, Mr. Matthias Dafo, shareholder, Mr. Afolabi Oladele, director, Mr. Anthony Ebuna, director, Mr. Jude David Mbamalu, director. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dominic Ichaba. The first item on our agenda is to lay before the members the audited financial statement for the year ended December 31, 2020, and the reports of the directors and auditors therein. The audited financial statements have been distributed to shareholders. I now lay the audited financial statement of the company for the year ended December 31, 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Board of Directors, distinguished fellow shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, my name is High Chief Ajie Robert Igbe. I'm a member of Nigerian Shareholders Solidarity Association, now known as Noble Shareholders Association. I thank you, Chairman, for holding this meeting this time around. Now, without wasting our time, let me go straight to the annual report. And I want to start from page 14. On page 14, this is where we have the notice of annual general meeting. The point I want to raise there is regarding the holding structure, which you are about to go into. There's nothing bad in holding, having a holding structure, just as we have in some banks. There's nothing bad there, because it helps to accommodate the other subsidiaries of the company. But what in this aspect is that sometimes some subsidiaries are not doing well, if the mother company is doing well, now accommodating the children, and some of the children are not doing well, it will affect the mother. So what I'm trying to say is that if you feel that having this holding structure is going to pay us, go ahead. But I don't want you to include those companies that are making losses, because once there are some subsidiaries that are making losses, all it means is that it's going to affect the company, whereby the profit of the company will be eroded and the shareholders will not get anything at the end of the day. But if you feel that by doing this it will help us, then go ahead and do what you want to do, no problem. Having said that, let us go to page 23 of the annual report. On 23 of the annual report, the first paragraph there, I want to mention or say something about the right issue. Last year, the company held or offered the right issue, and from the report here, the offer was fully subscribed. You are now saying that you want to raise additional shares because the regulatory authorities say that this is you did not meet up with the requirement or whatever, and as a result of that you want to go for another one. What I want to say in this aspect is that accumulating shares or getting more and more money is not bad, but the result is what we are really after. I have gone through this report. I did not see where you mentioned about the proceeds of the one we have already done. The right issue that was fully subscribed, I didn't see where you mentioned it, nor did I see what was used with the proceeds. Because when you use the money realized from the right issue, the result will show that actually you have used this money, this is the result. But instead of seeing result, I am seeing negative. And that means that money has not been utilized. So you will let me know what happens to that. Mr. Chairman, I cannot say anything on your corporate governance because I can see that your corporate governance policy is very good. From page 36 to page 47, I can see that you really maintain good corporate governance, and I want you to keep it up. On page 72, I want to say that this is where we have the finances. And if you look at the result for 2020, shows that virtually all the figures there are at negative level, which does not help us. Last year, we praised you that you were able to do well a little. In spite of the COVID-19 problems, you were able to come out with something better. But this time around now, it's no longer what we expected. If you look at the profit you made, the profit for the year, it was more than 200% from what you had last year. 147 million as against 1.88 billion as a 0.88 billion naira loss ahead of them. Now we have operating profit of 2.14, all at loss, as against the profit in the last year. Now, if you look at administrative expenses, it also went up. I don't know is the reason behind all this. We know very well that the inflation is also existing, but not to this level where you have gone to the expenses I have seen here. Now, if you look at trade and the other receivables, you see that we have 702.5 million naira, even though it's less than the previous year. But what are you doing to get this money? Because the company, from what I have seen here, is virtually nowhere, not to talk of giving a credit facility or whatever to the tune of this 700. Go and collect this money and do the business. We don't want this thing to continue like this. Still on page 73, look at the total liabilities. We have 8.358 billion naira as loss, as a liability.
marketing our products. It's very important. If you go to page 6 of the annual report, you will see those things that I have just mentioned. Mr. Chairman, I look at page 7, and we're having only one independent non-executive director. The CAMA 2020 is asking that at least 3 independent non-executive directors should be in a company that is quoted. So we need to look at that again, because let us assume, I mean, there is no assumption about it, because the annual report we are going through is 2020, and the CAMA is 2020. Chairman, now somebody spoke about the enlargement of the capital. Now, again, there are so many ways we can raise money without allowing it to overdilute the shares. The company is managing at 4.2 billion shares we're managing. And that also means that when we are paying dividend, it will just be a peanut issue, because the dividend must go through all the shareholders. So why don't we look at financial transaction that will not give us an immediate, or that will not give us a bloated capital? We can do a debenture that cannot be convertible, because the one we are talking about now is convertible at 2 naira 25 kobo or thereabout, because I've read through it. I don't want to be flipping through the pages. But we can have a debenture that the coupon rate will be attractive, that will not require conversion. Because it's 2 things. It's risky to convert into a non-paying dividend ordinary shares. People will want to remain with a coupon rate that is sure. Whether you make profit or not, God forbid, you must oblige the coupon rate. Whereas, for the risk bearers, if you don't make profit, there is no dividend, just like what we are going through. So we have to look at it in a way that our capital base will not be overbloated. It is just very important that the board should look at those areas. I need not to ask questions on the result of the right issue. The reason is that the major shareholders remain, the figure remains static, maybe because we have not taken any decision on the right issue. Otherwise, I wanted to find out why they did not participate. But from the chairman's report and the MD report, it shows that certain things are on suspension, pending when it will clear, hoping that the position will be cleared with 2020 account, whereby I hope we would have cleared all the problems.
2021.
2021, yes. 2021 result. Chairman, now I'm just on advisory line.
Thank you.
Because there is no point criticizing too much, because what we are seeing is the true position of the finances under the year being considered. So all of us should try as much as possible to advise the board on this occasion and see how we get out of the problem we are into. These problems cannot get away overnight, and we need to be very, very patient. And I believe the caliber of Wole will do everything possible to ensure that your shareholders will be happy with our investment in the company. But we need to be very careful on that new debenture, which is convertible, that we want to go into because of dilution. I want to wish you well in everything we are going to do, bearing in mind that the management will always be whole responsible for any result which you translate to the board. What is more important is the board should give you enabling environment to ensure that you respect the wishes of the shareholders. Once again, I want to thank you for inviting me here to represent the number of shareholders on our register. God bless us and grant us
Thank you,
the
Sonny.
knowledge to be able to move out of the
Thank
present
you
situation.
for
God
your
bless us.
advices. Thank you. No, now that will be the last one. I mean, the caliber of people that spoke, the first people, and now I'm sure that they are going to cover the reports extensively, and there will not be need for us to take any other one after Nunao. So you permit me for that. Nunao.
The chairman, other members of the board, very distinguished fellow shareholders. For the records, my names are Nona Awo. Chair, you know we are in the era of pandemic. And when I went through this account and I got to page 65, and I said, from all indication, social distancing is not only being practiced when people are together. Even when people are not together and you want to put their name and list them on the audit committee, you make sure that their names are so spaced and that they are keeping social distance. But talking seriously to the account, haven't gone and looked at page 30 to 35. And I now came to page 51. And I find that Mrs. Phillips, representing the shareholder with 13.52%, and you are listing her as independent, I'm certain that there was an error. She can't be independent with 13.52% of the company. She can't be independent. So what that means is that you have no independent director as far as this company is concerned. So it's something that you probably should begin to work at. I also want to put on record again that you also don't have a minority representative, given the structure of your holding and directorship of the company. Then the second major area that I also want some explanation, largely in terms of updates, because it's always been there, even in last year's account. Because if you look at this account, starting from page 67, you look at page 72 and 73, as well as page 108, all of those pages talking about receivables with 304 million. It will be important that you give an update as to what exactly is being done going forward. I also think that an update will also be required. Again, looking at page 106, 107, 112, as well as page 62, having to do with the issue of the fraud and the building, this building in particular. Ironically, this is a building that somebody had introduced me to when the building was almost brand new. I'm sure you know Tilidi. So each time I come here, I have a nostalgia as to what life can be. So I also think that an update will be necessary. But going forward, and talking about the future, by the way, I recognize efforts in terms of cost containment. And the first one that struck me, probably because the auditors are young and their name is S and Young, that they are they didn't increase their audit fee. Really, they went down. So we hope that since they are doing a huge number of their audits off-site, that the fee will go down further. So we can commend you for that. Okay. But I also find that the director's fee also did dip, which means that you are concerned to the fact that the other shareholders are not getting dividends, so you don't want to balloon the. But one major area that I also think that we need to look at for us to be able to improve on the bottom line has to do with our cost of sales. Looking at page 72 and 96, I'll be interested as to what we can do, especially with the mobile sale, because the way it is standing now, the margin is extremely thin that I don't know how we are going to, and that itself is the bulk in terms of revenue. So if the revenue components is bringing in so little, then I begin to ask myself, where will the survival come from? So I will be hoping that both the MD or the chairman will speak significantly around that item. I've heard so much about floats. I've heard so much about fear of reconstruction, and I'm sure that you also will address it. But it's important that going forward, that the level of attendance needs some improvement. Yes, I know that in the COVID period it was difficult but I don't think that will have prevented Mrs. Phillips and Yinka not attending much more than they did in the year under review. And I want to ask, under our MEMA, don't we allow for non-physical meeting? If that is the case, we should also encourage them, because even if they are in Afghanistan, they can attend a meeting if it's virtual. So it's something that we need to also begin to look at. No, if even they caught up with them, they will remain in the hole and they can still take their meetings and join. And the reason I say this is that it is not that you're a director that makes it important. It's the contribution that comes from directors on any given issue that helps to shape and reshape the life of a company. And I'm hoping that that contribution will not be one that will found wanting by not have them attend the meetings. Once again, I want to appreciate the fact that for the second consecutive year, I had to be one of the representatives for close to 1,000 shareholders of the company. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Nona, for your advices and your comments. Between the managing director and myself, we would as much as possible provide responses to your comments and your question. Chief Roberts, you spoke about the holdco structure. You see, one of the strengths of eTransact, and that has kept it afloat up to today, is the quality and caliber of its directors. And the board is looking at the holdco structure very well, and it is being designed in such a way that it will add value to shareholders. It's not for aesthetics, neither is it for philanthropy, but in order to be able to increase value to shareholders. You can be rest assured that if any business unit is not making profit, we'll hewn it down. On the right issue, I will just address the right issue generally because questions came across on the right issue. We are being regulated by Central Bank of Nigeria, and any offer that we do has to be approved by our regulators. It has to be approved by Central Bank before Securities and Exchange Commission approval. Upon the completion of the right, it was actually oversubscribed. Then we made our application to the Central Bank of Nigeria for approval of the right. The approval requires approval of the legal entities that are applying for the right. And don't forget that in case of a right, today it is not only current shareholders that can apply. You can buy rights from the secondary markets. Yeah, traded rights. You can buy traded rights. But upon our application to the Central Bank of Nigeria, some applications were declined. Well, you cannot query Central Bank for declining application. So, to that extent, I may not be able to explain to you in full why those applications were declined. But upon declining those applications, we were left with about 52%, which marginally took us over the acceptable limit by Securities and Exchange Commission. Somebody asked about the utilization of the proceeds. You can't see the utilization of the proceeds in the 2020 account because the right was concluded in 2021. So you won't see it. You won't see it. It has no impact on the 2020 account. But because there is a specific reason for which we wanted to sell the number of shares in the right offer, we needed to resell the unsubscribed portion or the cancelled portion. And that is why today we're coming to this AGM to get approval only for that cancelled portion, only, so that we can get back to the level of working capital that we wanted. Yeah, with the balance. So we don't run the risk of having too many shares at somebody at least. So we are still within the number of shares that we wanted to sell during the right offer. And we need the money to come in as quickly as possible so that we can pursue our plan, which will bring back the company to the level of profitability that we all want. So I believe that this has cleared all the issues on the right. Chief Robert, you still mentioned the smart micro thing. You see, the smart micro thing was an accident. And when an accident happens, it takes time to recover from it. This accident was not fatal, even though it was grievous, because the directors of this company took the bull by the horn and said that, look, we must come out of it. And that is why we are still here holding an AGM today. And it will affect our profitability for a period of time, after which we will then see good profit. Yes, last year we promised you that we were coming out of it, but there were still liabilities that we needed to recognize in our books. And what you saw that took us to the level of loss in this finance is the balance of the liability I think that's the final balance that we needed to recognize in our book, and that is what you say. And I think that we've overcome it. I can assure you that by now we have overcome it. The accidented vehicle is out of the garage, so we are ready to move. Well, we note what you said about the 2 directors and 3 shareholders in the audit committee. We note it. Sasoni Wosu spoke about secured transaction. I will leave that to the MD. He spoke about rights. I have addressed the issue of rights. Nona, you spoke about Mrs. Phillips representing 13.5%. I want to believe that there's a mix-up somewhere. So thank you for pointing out that. We'll take a look at it. I'll leave the MD to give an update on the building and also to speak to the issue of cost of sales and our margin. In terms of the attendance of director, you have also explained it out that the COVID period was a challenging period for many people. Even if you are away, you may not have access to internet where you are. And even if you are around, what says that people don't have COVID and they are knocked out for a period, a long or a protracted period of time, and they are not able to attend the board meeting. But if you look at the attendance of our board, you see that as much as possible, our directors attend meeting. And even when they are not able to come to meeting, we talked among ourselves and get contributions. So we still feel there. I know that there is a statutory requirement for attendance. Yes, I appreciate that. But this is not a regular occurrence, you know. So I'll leave the MD to answer the remaining questions, the ones that I have not answered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, distinguished shareholders. Just as our distinguished chairman has explained with respect to the performance of the year under review 2020, the reasons for the exceptional negative performance was as a result of the final recognition of the fraud-related liability. And if you normalize some of these these are one-off items hitting the P&L. If you normalize them out, we're actually not too far from what was performed in 2019. So these are one-off costs that should not repeat itself going forward from the current year. So we're very positive about financial year 2021. Now, with respect to general operating performance, 2021 has started off much better than 2020. And it's interesting that our distinguished shareholder member, Chief Sonny, also raised the issues and concerns around suggestions and advice around new products that sort of speak to protection and proper and adequate security of customers' transactions. Those are some of the new areas. Those are some of the areas we have looked into in the previous years, and a part of the new products we're designing and we've started releasing into the public. And it's going to drive our performance in 2021 and going forward. So we're very positive. Now, with respect to the building is it's an interesting one as well, because we have been here since 2003 or 2002, and the opportunity to participate in the ownership of the building came up. And even though the situation is still undergoing conclusion, we're very positive that hopefully before the end of FY 2022,
all issues around building ownership and all of that will be resolved, and we will be able to do all the necessary renovations and have a clear and clean ownership title for the building. So we're very positive. Once again, thank you for all your questions. God bless you, sirs.
Thank you, distinguished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen. Time is of essence, therefore, I cannot take any more questions. However, my colleagues and I will be available to all shareholders after the meeting. The next item on the agenda is the re-election of retiring directors. Mr. Victor Etuoku, Mr. Paul Obanwa, and Mr. Nii Tuluwalokwe are directors retiring by rotation in accordance with Section 285 of CAMA. Mr. Victor Etuoku, Mr. Paul Obanwa, and Mr. Nii Tuluwalokwe, being eligible and having indicated their willingness to stay in office, hereby present themselves for re-election. For convenience, if it is your wish to re-elect the directors by a single resolution, so separate resolutions for the re-election of directors. I will now present the directors one by one for re-election. I hereby move that Mr. Victor Echoko, being a director retiring and presenting himself for re-election at this meeting in accordance with Section 285 of CAMA B, and is hereby re-elected as a director of eTransact International PLC. Will a member second this motion? Chief Roberts seconds this motion. Would the registrars please announce the proxy votes in favor or against this resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and distinguished shareholders. On the resolution to re-elect a retiring director, Mr. Victor Etoku, we received a total of 90 votes, representing a total share volume of 5,191,462,062 units. They all voted 100% in favor of the resolution. There was no vote against, and there was no abstention on the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. I declare the motion carried. I hereby move that Mr. Paul Obanwa, being a director retiring and presenting himself for re-election at this meeting in accordance with Section 285 of CAMA B, and is hereby re-elected as a director of eTransact International PLC. Will a member second motion? Obanwa. No. Will a member second this motion, please? Any shareholder can second. Thank you, Nona Awo. It's seconded by Nona Awo. Would the registrar please announce the proxy votes in favor or against this resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to re-elect the retiring director, Mr. Paul Obanwa, we received a total of 90 votes, representing a total share volume of 5,191,462,062 units. They all voted 100% in favor of the resolution. None voted against, and none was abstained.
I declare the motion carried. I hereby move that Mr. Niyi Toluwalope, being a director retiring and presenting himself for re-election at this meeting, in accordance with Section 285 of CAMA, be and is hereby re-elected as a director of eTransact International PLC. Will a member second this motion? Therefore, Mr. Therefore seconds. Would the registrar please announce the proxy votes in favor or against this resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to re-elect a retiring director in the person of Mr. Niyi Toluwalope, we received a total of 90 proxies who voted, with total volume of shares of 5,191,462,062 units. They all voted 100% in favor of the resolution, none voted against, and there was no abstention.
I declare the motion carried. The next item on the agenda is to authorize Board of Directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors, Messrs. Ernst & Young. Section 408 subsection 1 of CAMA requires that the remuneration of the auditors be fixed by the company in general meeting, or such manner as the company in general meeting may determine. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the auditors for the company. Will a member second this motion? Chief Roberts seconds the motion. Would the registrar please announce the proxy vote in favor or against this resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution to authorize directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors, we received a total vote from proxies of 90 and the total volume of shares to be 5,191,462,062 units. 100% voted in favor for the resolution, none voted against, and none was in abstention. Thank you.
Thank you. I declare the motion carried. The next item on the agenda is to disclose the remuneration of managers of the company in accordance with Section 238 and 257 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. The remuneration of managers is disclosed in Note 32 on page 119 of the 2020 annual report. The next item on the agenda is the election of members of the Statutory Audit Committee. The Audit Committee is a requirement of Section 404 of CAMA and in compliance with Section 404 subsection 3. The Statutory Audit Committee is now comprised of 3 shareholders, representatives, and 2 directors. The board appointees to the Audit Committee are Mr. Afolabi Oladele and Dr. Jude David Mbamanu. They are online. They are online. They are online, yes. The following members have been nominated for election to the Statutory Audit Committee. Mr. Dominic Ichaba, Mr. Matthias Dafo, and Mr. Robert Adinuba Ibekwe. I will now present the candidates one by one. 3 nominations. Okay. So since we have 3 candidates for the 3 positions, I hereby move a resolution that the 3 candidates are hereby re-elected. two are not being elected. Two are nominations from the board. So those ones are not going through elections. No, please. Yeah, the two are not being elected, so you don't need a resolution for those. Yeah, you don't need a resolution for those. Yeah, please. So I need a resolution approving the election of these three candidates. Can the three candidates please stand up for recognition? I hereby move that the three candidates are elected as members of Audit Committee. I want a seconder, please. Let me take the man behind Robert. Come again? Agbola what?
Agbola Sunday.
Agbola
Sunday.
So the three candidates are hereby elected as members of Audit Committee. The company statutory audit committee therefore has the following members: Mr. Afolabi Oladele, Mr. Jude Umbamalu, Mr. Dominic Ichaba, Mr. Matthias Dafo, Mr. Robert Adinuba. I congratulate these members on their appointment. I am sure we can all rely on them to do an excellent job. Ladies and gentlemen, we record that by a shareholders' resolution passed 17 January 2018, the board was authorized, please you can have your seat. The board was authorized to raise capital of up to 7 billion naira through the issuance of any form of equity instruments, whether by way of public offering, private placement, issue, offer for subscription, or any other methods, and on such terms and conditions deemed fit by the directors. Upon conclusion of the capital verification process by the Central Bank of Nigeria in April 2021, only 3,651,849,724 naira 50 kobo was approved out of the sum of 8,471,713,080 naira raised from the right issue. The company now seeks to address the shortfall from the right. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to raise additional capital of 5,772,225,000 naira through the private placement of irredeemable convertible unsecured bond at an issue price of 1 naira per unit and a conversion price per share of 2 naira 25 kobo, subject to obtaining requisite regulatory approval. Will a member second this motion? Can a member second this motion, please? Okay. Nona Awo seconds this motion. Would the registrar please announce the proxy votes in favor or against this resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution that the directors be and are hereby authorized to raise additional capital of 5,772,225,000, we received a total vote via proxies of 88, representing a total volume of shares of 1,512,479,436
499 units. They all voted 100% in favor of the resolution. None voted against, and there was no abstention.
I declare the motion carried. Come again, Nuna.
The previous resolution, the announcement was that there were 90 shareholders that voted, and the volume was 5.1 billion. Now he's saying that 80 something voted, and the volume is 5.4. So I'm wondering how that came about. I just want to know. So we don't have.
Can the registrar please clarify this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, so on this particular special resolution, 2 shareholders were excluded. That is Access Bank, shareholders representing Access Bank and eTransact Global. They were excluded from voting, and it's stated on the notice. Thank you.
I hereby move that in compliance with the guidelines of the Central Bank of Nigeria, dated December 9, 2020, for the recategorization of operational licenses in the Nigerian payment system, the directors be and are hereby authorized to restructure the company as a holding company and adopt a holding structure with 2 or more subsidiaries to carry on the switching business, the mobile money business, and any other evolving or specific business opportunity relevant to the business objectives of the company. Will a member second this motion? Agbola seconds. Would the registrar please announce the proxy votes in favor or against this resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the resolution that the directors be and are hereby authorized to restructure the company as a holding company and adopt a holding structure with 2 or more subsidiaries, we received a total of 90 votes via proxies, representing a total volume of shares of 5,191,462,062 units. They all voted 100% in favor of the resolution. None voted against, and there was no abstention.
I declare the motion carried. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to effect the reorganization of the company as a holding company by a scheme of arrangement subject to obtaining shareholders and relevant regulatory approvals. Will a member second this motion? Okay. Okay, yeah. What is it? 32. Am I not done with it? Yeah, I have read that. Oh, okay. So they must go together. Separately. Okay. Thank you, Nuna, for drawing my attention to that. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to effect the reorganization of the company as a holding company by a scheme of arrangement subject to obtaining shareholders and relevant regulatory approvals. I also move that all acts carried out or authorized by directors of the company in connection with the above resolution be and are hereby Chief Robert seconds. Will the registrar please announce the proxy votes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the resolutions that the directors be and are hereby authorized to effect the reorganization of the company as a holding company by a scheme of arrangement, and also on the resolution that all acts carried out or authorized by the directors of the company in connection with the above resolutions be and are hereby approved, we received a total number of 90 votes via proxies, representing a total volume of shares of 5,191,462,062 units. They all voted 100% in favor of this resolution. None voted against, and there was no abstention.
Thank you. I declare the motion carried. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the close of business to be considered at this meeting. Thank you all for taking the time to attend this meeting and for actively participating in the affairs of the company. May God continue to bless our joint efforts to move the company forward. I now call on Mr. Dafoe to lead us in the closing prayer.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, I want to give you praise and thank you for taking us through this meeting successfully. Heavenly Father, we put our company in your care and guide, and we pray that you will help us to continue to grow stronger and stronger. Thank you. Give our leaders the wisdom and the wherewithal to continue to lead this company. Father, as we all go back to our various places, take us safely. We ask and pray all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Can we have the national anthem, please? Thank you, everyone. I wish you safe journey back to your various destinations. God bless.
Well done, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Phillips, thank you, Paul. Paulo Banoa, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Victor Echoku, thank you very much.
God bless you. God bless you, Chairman.
It
was
a
very
seamless. Yes, it was.
Excellent.
Managed AGM. Well done, sir.
Well done. Well done, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
So, Victor and Engineer Falabi, you can pop champagne now.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Well done, sir.